Hey everybody, Asher here, back with more Kerbal Space Program, and you may have noticed some things have changed. I did put the visual mods back in, so we do have new skybox. We have Duna that we'll see. Oh, that's Duna, that's right. We're catching up on some previous recordings here that I need to cut together a little bit, but we are in fact flying to Duna on the Duna Behemoth, which is an exceptionally large ship, and we are actually on a decent approach. The first thing we're going to need to actually do is adjust our approach here. You can see from, hopefully I talked about it in the last video here, we have an approach vector that I was able to adjust pretty well, a periapsis of less than 1 million, which is great, and I have a maneuver node in place to put us within 12,000 meters, which will probably not allow us to escape. Our goal is to do an aerocapture to get into an orbit, so we're actually going to go ahead and rotate ever so slowly to this maneuver node, and I really do mean ever so slowly, because this is a massive, massive ship. How massive are we talking about? Here we are still talking about 287 tons. The Behemoth includes a Duna lander, an orbital station that for some reason has some stupid nose cones on it that kept me from bringing some probes that would have made this mission much more profitable, and 2 landing bases, one for Ike and one for Duna. This ship may be able to get landings on both Ike and Duna, but the biggest goal is to get a landing on Ike, because we're not exactly hurting for science. Between the orbital station on around Kerbin, the experiments that were in this bin that we spent going across space-time, and then the one on the moon, we're doing fine on science. So any extra science we get here will be great for filling out the tech tree. But as we make this turn, and we're going to be doing some of this in real time, some of this not in real time here, we have Jeb, Bill, Bob, Ronnie, Chad Hat, his mother loved him, Varela Kerman, as we're going to do the usual thing of time accelerating ever so slightly to stop our rotation. And I'll tell you up front that the controls are very sluggish for this right here, but Varela, Alstead Kerman, and Valentina Kerman. So that's our brave crew. Some of them will be staying on Duna and Ike for science. We can pick them up, we promise, someday later. But the first part of this mission is just to get this burn right. And it's very difficult to get this burn right, because you'll notice as soon as I accelerate with the nukes, my ship wobbles a lot, and that shows with the numbers flailing around like that. Now you may have noticed that this turns pink. That's because the bastard moon Ike is flying around here. We're actually going to get an Ike encounter, which sometimes getting an Ike encounter is a good thing, because that means it takes less delta V to actually get somewhere. But when all we're doing is trying to adjust our orbit a little bit here, and you can see it's using very, very little delta V to actually do this, the Ike encounter actually makes things a little worse, because for the little bit of extra fuel we have to burn here, probably about 40 delta V total just to make this happen, what Ike's going to do instead is that it will pull us towards Duna, so we'll be able to get a lower periapsis faster, but at the expense of sending us towards it just a little bit faster, probably requiring a much tougher, much rougher aero brake. So it's not really, I don't see it as a net positive. On the other hand, we do get to have some science from Ike, so that is a plus. We're going to get our periaps down to less than 20,000 meters, because I want to actually do an aerocapture here. But I don't want to go too far less than 20,000. You can see right here that just slightly adjusting my orbit here is a pain, because we oscillate between 29 and 24. So when I go down even further here, it gets a little worse. 17, 18. Now if I time accelerate and get closer, that'll do some wonders here. So 17. Okay. Now if we go like 15, 14, 13, we're starting to get too low. I think 15 or 16 is a little safer. Fortunately, okay, we can try 15. I kind of want to go up to 16, so I'm going to use the RCS thrusters. Not to go that way. I want to go burn the opposite way. There we go. 16, 15, 16. Let's see what happens when we time accelerate. Oh, 1567. All right. See, this is the fun guesswork of science. So 16 something. I hope that's enough. I would hate to miss the aerocapture here. Of course, having this ship without all the heat shields, and looking back at the design phase, maybe I could have put a bunch of giant ablative heat shields on the back of these engines, but I'm not exactly sure what that would have done. But we do have a contract complete. We have flown by Duna. All right, any closer, there'd be paperwork, so that's great. You'll notice our electrical charge is was going quite crazy on the ride over here. Main reason is because this thing sucks up a ton of electricity, and I don't have the hugest solar panels on this thing. In fact, I will, when I accelerate here a little bit, we'll just change that. So last time on camera I did do some science with Ike, but we do still need to do some preparations for making sure we can have the most successful air capture possible. First off, much to my dismay, the heaviest part of the rocket is not up here. The heaviest part of the rocket is down here. The 2 landing stations, go figure. So the very first thing we're going to do, because we're not going to have much more in the way of fuel burning here, is just try and dump as much fuel into the back as possible. With the Ike encounter coming so close, I really debated dropping off the Ike lander right there and just trying to shove it into an orbit right away. But since I'm not entirely sure what my fuel payout or loadout is going to look like, I don't know if that's the best idea. It seems like an efficient use of time. I'm just not sure if it's the best use of time. So we're actually going to be taking all the liquid fuel out of our nuclear engines. And this is going to be one of those things where I'm not entirely sure what our fuel budget is for the rest of this mission. If we're going to need a rescue mission for our Duna crew, I guess that wouldn't be terribly surprising. Because right now these middle tanks, all these middle tanks are still pretty good. We should actually be pretty alright. Because if there's one thing that if I could have done it differently, is not bring so much oxidizer. Because I know I didn't need it on these big tanks, but I hadn't realized just how much fuel 12 nuclear engines would take to get us over here. I mean, when I did my Joule mission a long time ago, I had 16 because I had the quad couplers, but they moved those on the tech tree. So let's see here. So and I know this is taking a dear sweet little bit of time, but it is valuable to do this. And there is actually another fuel canister over here. I'm not going to worry as much about these, just because there's no great way to symmetrically. That's the thing, is that if there's not a corresponding like symmetrical fuel tank, I'm not as inclined to move some of the stuff around, which unfortunately means that I could be having some issues here in just a moment. But we want to put the vast majority of our weight down here, so we're going to do just that. So this is the exciting part of Kerbal Space Program, all the micromanagement. Alt-right click, alt-right click, alt-right click. You can cross-feed across docking ports. So we're going to take as much advantage of that as possible. I do think we have enough fuel to do all the things we need to do. We would have had even more fuel if I'd had the 2 probes along, but right now we only need RCS to make our maneuvers. And pretty much our goal here is to go retrograde and then slam ourselves into the atmosphere and hope that our docking ports maintain their integrity. So that's asking a lot for this ship. But docking ports are apparently made of like Durasteel or something, so we'll see. Said it's going to bother me when I can't get like symmetrical stuff back in tanks eventually. But as long as the center of mass is on the back end over here, more so than up there, we'll be okay. This part will probably wobble around a bit, but with Duna right there, we'll see. We will see how it goes. So transfer's done. We're going to keep this bay open right now. But let's go ahead and just... Where is our freaking prograde vector right here? That's the thing, is that with this ship being how it is... Did I guess right? Can we move? Can we move? This is where doing some of these things in real time can be a little bit of an issue. Let's go ahead and get rid of this maneuver node. We don't really need it. We're just trying to rotate our ship right now. This is adjusting our periapsis just ever so slightly. So maybe I can... Well, we're going towards it now. So let's just go ahead and finish the rotation. This is at normal real-time speed. If you're wondering how much hours of footage it took for me to get to this point with the Behemoth, it took about 8 hours of footage to get to here. I probably said that in a prior recording as well. So if we just rotate, we shouldn't be doing too much with our periapsis. 15 is still okay. We may have to adjust that as we get a little bit closer, but I just want to go ahead and have our butt facing Duna. I might be asking a lot. But I don't want to go much below 15. In fact, I really don't want to go much lower than that. So we will Have to see if this rotation is still okay. I think it's going to be fine. But yeah, notice that everything is... I'm recording. I have skyboxes up. That's not the issue. The issue is that I have struts upon struts that have their own struts. And all these parts here is just a lot of things to have to model all at once. And when we hit the atmosphere, as great as it would be to show it to you all in real time, the reality is that we're not going to have to. But I just want to go over this one more time. There's a variety of attitudes you can get from Kerbal Crew, but look at how happy Jeb is. Bill, Bob, Ronnie, Chad Hatz, Varela, Alstead, and Valentina. They're all super happy. They've been in space for so long, and finally they've made it to where their mission control told them to make it to. And we actually have a Duna encounter, and that is just cool. It's a much shorter trip in Kerbal Space Program than real life, but I promise you, Kerbins with their life expectancies being what they are, and I don't know if that has anything to do with the rocket program and everything, so is kind of going to matter here. So we'll see how this goes. We're close enough to the retrograde vector. Let's go ahead and I guess we'll have to maintain SAS through this, because right now everything's being a little unresponsive. Jebediah is the one that's at the helm right now, although I can control from Valentina later. But let's watch this all zoom in a little close. And I'm quick saving here, if only because I've had issues of missing maneuver nodes with this ship because it takes so long to process everything. So we're going 1,000 times, we're going 10,000 times, and you can start to see Ike ever so excitedly swooping around like, hey guys, you want to go to Duna? You got to get through me first. This is where sometimes it's actually a really bad idea to take a 90-degree entrance. Sometimes some people would recommend going at a different angle here. But there's Ike. Do we actually have the encounter yet? No, not quite. But you can see I did activate some clouds and everything on Duna. That'll be fun to look at because I've never had the cloud mod activated for landings or things like that. Of course, there's no clouds on Ike. But we are going to be nice and close. And like I said, we are going to get a gravity assist from Ike, whether we want it or not. So, you probably saw that from the preview video, that we do a flyby. For that preview, I did just kind of throw the ship into Duna for fun. And it caught on fire so badly. I didn't do any kind of preparation or anything. It was just like, oh, well, I haven't put up a video in a few days, and I have an itch to make a trailer. Let's do it like this. So, Duna Behemoth, meet Ike. So like I said, this is the part of the mission where I could actually take out the lander and just try. How much Delta V is it actually going to take to make this happen? Right now we have, oh god, 1,500's not awesome, but I think we'll be okay. Let's see. How much Delta V is it going to take? Yeah, see, the reason you want to aero brake typically is because it gets you in a better orbital inclination where it doesn't take 700, 800 Delta V just from your entrance to get around Ike. Duna letting the atmosphere slow you down, pretty big help. So, now that we're at Ike, we can do our usual bevy of science here. Starting with a crew report. There we go, and we can add that to the mobile lab as well as everything else. How's our electricity situation doing? I think I turned off the experimentation just because it was a little too much. So, Bob, let's EVA you again. And you're going to start to see just how exciting Kerbal Science Program can be. So, crew report. Let's go ahead and let's transmit the data. Go ahead and get some of that sweet, sweet science right now. Toggle EVA suit. I don't want to take off the EVA suit. Space high over Ike. Let's keep that. Yeah, another thing that I've run into is that someone in the comments said something and I didn't quite appreciate what they meant at first. But yeah, I have totally run into the situation now where it is entirely possible to store too many experiments in one command module. So fortunately, I'm not going to be able to take every little tiny bit of science home. Fortunately, I don't need all of the science to do that. But I will have enough command modules where I should be able to get 20 bits of science home, and at least by the time I take these ships apart, at least that's the plan. When I get back to Kerbin, I should be able to go to Skytown Fun Park and dump all the science that way. But for now, at least, we can still do some experiments here just a little bit. And we're not going to do this until we're in a stable orbit around Duna or pretty low, because as you may well know, it's easy to lose Kerbals when you're in a planetary descent. So Materials Bay. This is not my favorite angle for this, by the way. There we go. Let's go ahead and process the data in the lab. We're going to have so much data. And we should be able to just take the goo experiment. There is also a temperature gauge right there. Log temperature. And let's just go ahead and keep the data. Our labs are actually getting pretty full right now, so we'll put this temperature data. We don't want to close the service bay door. Sounds like something another person would ask you to do. So all items stored, temperature scan good. And we can't get the materials bay yet, so let's just go ahead and EVA around the other side of the ship. Thank you for clipping through that part. Yeah, it's funny how at first when I was playing, things were so kind of unfamiliar to me. And now it's kind of all come back like an old hat. So now we have nicer backgrounds to look at. Hopefully those translate in the video pretty well. I was debating doing something different. Like there are some really nice EVE Online backgrounds are available. And EVE Online backgrounds are kind of the nice way of saying, oh, you know what, enjoy this pretty landscape while you get obliterated by everyone else in the game. Because it's that kind of game. And it's one of those games that's not the reason I don't get into it. The reason I don't get into it is that I can't handle the 10 hours of doing nothing for that 1 hour of excitement. Just the payoff's not there for me. So let's keep the data. We can go ahead and process that in the module. It'll take just a little bit of time, and then we should be able to get him to take care of it. So restore. Before we forget, actually restore with the restore button. So there we go. And we already have an EVA report from you. This is where clicking things in a lag-tastic environment is a lot of fun. Alright, especially at this angle. Like I said, it's not my favorite angle ever. Alright, we're just going to keep the data. We're just going to collect it for now. We have a mystery goo observation. I think we already have that anyway. So let's just dump it. Alright. Collect this data and restore. Okay, that's weird. For some reason... Oh, wait. That's the mystery goo. Ah. I'm forgetting what I'm clicking on here. That's the materials bay. Mystery goo. Keep it. Collect it. Gotta catch it all. Restore. Alright. That's why science people are so powerful. That's why gathering science in this game is actually a good deal easier. Of course, now what we're going to run into is that we're running out of places to actually put the experiments. Unless the science bay will just hold tons more experiments. But here is the behemoth in the flesh. And I think we're done with our EVA science for now, as we actually have more contracts pending here. Actually, we should have two. Transmit and cover science data from Ike complete. It's weird that we never got an Explore Duna mission, but I'm not bitter about that. Grab it. Wow. You need to work on your spacing skills, Bob. Bob is just so happy right now. This is what he trained to do. He trained to not be able to grab onto this crap. Okay. Second time. There we go. Like I said, not my favorite angle to do this. Board it. Alright, so we have how many stored experiments here? We have 7 data. We should have... Okay, we don't need the nerve, which I think that's a funny name for this thing. 7 experiments, 10 experiments. So we're getting pretty close to capping out already. But we're kind of okay. We have our gravity assist going on, and we're about 15 so meters away. I really feel like I should get that up to 16 real quick. So let me just go ahead and... Because I don't remember what actual angle this needs to be done at. Alright. if I turn on the RCS and I fire this way, there we go, 800. I got it right on the first try. Let's pull it out to like 16,400. I have not done any math assist here, if only because all the calculators out there that I can find don't really take into account the 1.0 atmosphere, because I didn't actually change it from the I'm still on the early atmosphere. So for those of you all playing at home, your results may vary at Duna quite a bit depending here, but I'm playing with the stock release atmosphere, and honestly, air capturing will probably be a lot easier if I was playing 1.0.2, so that's a little bit of the trade-off here. But there's Duna, there's its caps, there's us getting a little closer, flying in butt first. So long, Ike. We will see you again after we bleed off some of this orbital velocity. And that's where, once again, the air capture is really important. I still remember trying to land on Tylo and Vol, other moons that don't have an atmosphere, where it's just, you try and slow down as much as you can around Joule, but I really grossly underestimated the delta V necessary. So, orbital velocity, current heading, 1154. It's time to retract these panels. And we're going to see what the power of HD Radon 7850 and i3 3220 can do for crapping out with all these mods. Because right now our Aerocapture, our Duna periapsis is not accurately reflected right now. That's the first, second, and third thing you'll freak out about, especially with using a ship like this. Because we are about to be back in the right place, and it should be fixed. There we go, 1600, 340. We're a little bit better now. Is everyone? It's time to get closer. Our butt is facing the right direction. The heavier part of the ship is over here. If only data weighed something, we could throw a bunch of data down here. Actually, we have a pretty good assortment of data for the orbital station already. So while we're waiting for the window either for a rescue mission for these guys, if that's what it comes to, or a return mission, which is more of my hope, we'll be able to do something. So let's just go ahead and get to Duna, as it just flies in ever so closer, which is pretty nice. Alright, so Duna with the clouds. Can zoom out a little bit there for fun and profit. And let me just go ahead and make sure, just to verify everything is working with the recording, I'm going to take a quick stop here, and then we're going to see if we can slam into this atmosphere and possibly get into an elliptical orbit that we can free ourselves from the clutches of gravity and actually start exploring this system. Alright, and it looks like we are clear for actually having everything go on other than the recording saving in the wrong folder. Derp. So here is Duna. Duna is our friend. Duna has multiple cloud layers. This mod includes dust storms on the surface. I do not have snow installed for the poles. In fact, the Mars, the analog for Duna, doesn't exactly have like the most active weather system at all. It does have some clouds, not nearly this many, but this is Duna. It's not Mars. So we are just going to go ahead. We're heading in at about 1,500 meters per second. That's a lot. Okay, well, it's now or never, kiddos. We are flying butt first into our first planet in Kerbal Space Program release mode. Our current projected periapsis is 16,300. 1,600 be really different. Our skybox is gone. We still have one solar panel up that's just asking to be roasted. So retract that. And then what we're going to do just a little bit here is actually, you all will get to watch some of this in real time just so you can see how jarringly slow it is, and then we will speed it up and see hopefully the success here or the failure. But yeah, just even without the cloud mod, which you got to see in the preview video before, we have a little bit of anti-aliasing still, but we also have the nice reddish texture of the atmosphere over here, so that's pretty good. So we're just approaching ever so slowly. And we just get to take our time now. 40,000 meters. We are officially in the Duna atmosphere. I can turn the SAS off. We should adjust our heading appropriately here before too long. So it shouldn't be too bad. Alright. Our ship should adjust just a little bit. Part of the fun that I had with the video before was that I let the ship flip and go crazy. So while I do expect there to still be some issues, especially since I'm not pointing directly at my heading, I'm hoping we don't have the massive wiggle wobble because we don't have all this mid-weight and back-weight up here with the nukes. Although the nukes are still pretty heavy. But like I said, it's the docking ports that are going to be the key. Will they hold? Will the rocket maxes back here being full be annoying? If I was mid-maxing and had better mods for like fuel transfer, because I know those are out there to be an issue. But you can see by turning off the SAS, we do have, we're going towards the retrograde heading now, albeit our ship is wiggling just a little bit. We are using a puller style ship, which means we thrust this way to pull the back end of our ship. So I guess it's not that surprising that of all the smart things I'm doing in this game, having the parachutes first to take the brunt of the heat is probably going to take the cake. So our Duna lander may be fried before it's even done here, which I guess wouldn't surprise me, wouldn't disappoint me. Well, it would disappoint me just a little bit. Do we have any, I almost EVA Jebediah, that'd be bad. Do we have any IVA view? Yes, we do. He can actually see Duna and clouds and engines, lots of engines. So we're going to be on fire here in just a moment, and it is going to be a lot of fire, but my estimations from before were that Duna's atmosphere is not going to be thick enough to actually put a significant brunt and destroy our ship. I really hope that's true. I should really close the service bay, though, not run atmosphere analysis. Should really close the service bay right now, like yesterday. Because that's the only thing that's keeping all those experiments safe from the heat. And look at how slow things are going already. That door is just gone. The fires have started. This is what real-time Kerbal Space Program massive ship battles looks like. If you watch any other KSPers, this is exactly why they do post-commentary. And this is just a little bit of fire. This is just the beginning, as we're about to get into the middle atmosphere here. So I will time accelerate this just a little bit just to see if we can make this work. Said aerocapturing on Duna from an interplanetary transfer is really tricky, and I do highly encourage you to save, try again, just to see if it works, because you go, I've spent how much of my space budget on this? Okay, I'm up to 1.5, but I was down to about 1 million funds, and I already had to ditch 2 missions with a pretty good payout, so yeah, you don't want that. But right now, our ship is pointing the right direction. Hopefully it'll stay that way. And Ike's in the distance. The sun is up there. The sun's a little bit smaller. But yeah, let's just go ahead and go to post-commentary mode. And I will be back, hopefully on the other side. 3, 2, 1, mark. And now we're back to new me or old me, however Scott Manley would say it before here, at ×8 post-acceleration here. So this is what space capture maybe you think is more supposed to look like. And I do want to apologize ahead of time, and I did put it in the description before. I'm not sure why there's a Geiger counter sounding thing throughout the audio of this video. And it's something that has been fixed since then, but we have a little bit of drifting as we're going through here, 17,000 meters and descending into 16,000 meters. But we still need to shed quite a bit of just our orbital speed in general. And right now, everybody's happy. Even Bill and Bob are smiling. That tells you how much they're sick of each other in space if they're just happy to see the red dirt below them. Hopefully they don't take a dirt nap here. Now, what you don't necessarily get as much, because this video is going at 8 times acceleration speed as there is Ike going under the atmosphere. That's how low we are right now. This would absolutely have exploded by now on Kerbin. But Duna only has 1/5 of the PSI, or the air pressure, the thickness of an atmosphere. So this shouldn't be too bad. And actually, we have just passed the periapsis, and we are actually getting a pretty decent curve on everything, but I am starting to get a little bit worried here because our acceleration's going back up. Our crew's still pretty happy. Everybody's okay, but I'm not entirely convinced that we are going to have a completely successful Aerocapture from here. So we're going back up. You can see everything's still on fire. Somehow the parachutes are holding. Somehow the viewing cupola has not exploded, and we still have quite a bit of fuel, but now I have kind of a decision to make. We're not on fire. We're still on an escape trajectory. And I've made my maneuver node. I've made my peace with it. It's time to transfer fuel. And I got to do this on the fly, and I got to do it. I have technically 3 days to do it, but I want to do it as fast as I can because it's most efficient to do it while closer to the surface here. I have to do a retrograde burn with my wussy nerve nuclear rockets just to get into some kind of elliptical orbit, just to try and finish up the Aerocapture. What I said in the commentary here when I came back to live commentary around this point is that the Aerocapture failed. And that's correct. The Aerocapture did fail. We do have some nice views of Duna and the sun and everything. But I did not have a successful Aerocapture, and I can attribute that in part to if you're playing with the 1.01, 1.02, 1.03 atmosphere, any of those, you are going to have a better, it's soupier, so it's better. But you see the other problem that I'm having right here. This is the other thing that I'm going to have to contend with just from the maneuver node. Try to do this all at once. I have an Ike encounter. So I can go up to the top of this once, but Ike is going to troll me all the way around. This would have been a successful Aerocapture if I wasn't playing with the stock 1.0 atmosphere because it's a lot thinner. But right now I'm bringing my periapsis down to about 21,000, 20,000. And I'll be honest with you, that is just an estimation based on my previous experience with Duna and where things kind of set themselves on fire. But to be honest, I'm not sure if that's going to be enough of an Aerocapture. I want an elliptical orbit. I don't want to run into Ike because as you'll see from this next Aerocapture, as we're trying to do just a little bit of science here, just squeeze that in while we can, is I got to get my heading back in retrograde. I actually need to transfer my fuel out of the nuclear stage back into the back of the ship. And I had to spend a lot more fuel than I would have liked just to make this happen. And you'll see I actually accidentally click on 2 of the same canisters. And that's where fuel balancing mods would be really nice, but I'm able to figure it out. It's just, you got to trade evenly with 2 canisters. It's not perfect, but whoop, there we go. 460, 460, close enough. So it's going to look really crazy, the lines here, because we're not actually going down deep enough into the atmosphere to be caught on fire. But this is a kind of realistic style of Aerocapture you can see as well. And if you have read Kim Stanley Robinson's Red Mars, which I referenced in the trailer here, they do multiple Aerocaptures as well. So one Aerocapture may not be the new way things are going here, but we're descending back into Duna's atmosphere. You can see our Ike periapsis is going here. Our goal is to have our apoapsis with Duna be within the orbit of Ike. I still want it to be elliptical because it can be more efficient for me to actually dump the Duna lander, or not the Duna lander, the Ike lander. I don't know why in this video I kept confusing. I kept meaning to say Duna and I said Ike instead. I think I was a little tired while recording, but here we go. We're going further and further into the atmosphere, and we are having our line bend around. You can see if we do get an encounter with Ike where we hit it, it is going to send us on an escape trajectory. It's still sending us on an escape trajectory because it is a troll moon, and then nope, 1.9, 1.8, 1.7 million meters. We have successfully Aerocaptured. It took 2 rounds to do it, and it took about 300 extra fuel per engine, so about 1,200 extra fuel. That does get rid of some mass and everything, but our apoapsis is still really good going down here. So I'm actually very happy with how this turned out. We have a good elliptical orbit so that when Ike gets back around, then there's that troll face poking around the side. We can successfully transfer our fuel again. Because what we'll need to do from the apoapsis is to bring the bottom of our orbit out from the atmosphere. And Duna's atmospheric height is about 50,000 meters. I like going up a little bit higher than that just because it feels safer, and you know Kerbal Space Program can be scary. If I were just to leave it like this and go to the Space Center, I think the orbit would stay around just fine. At least that's how it used to work. But if I came back to the ship, or I was watching the ship the whole time, this orbit would just degrade. The next time it went down to like under 20,000 meters, I would just crash into the surface. But as it were, we are at pretty much about the end of this video here. Like I said, all I got to do is one slight burn to bring my apoapsis back up. So that's pretty much going to be it for this one, as we have Duna, at least in orbit, and what's going to be next in our sights is starting to do the landings. We get to land on Ike. We get to do 2 landing missions on Duna. Hopefully we get to bring 1 mission up for a return. Possibly another landing on Ike. I don't know. But the itinerary is pretty good. There's going to be some Kerbals that get left behind for research and for science. And there's going to be some research bases around here that hopefully will be able to transmit to me even more science. So let's take one more look at that Troll Moon Ike as we go around the sunny side. Nice sunset view of Duna going around here. The cloud mods make it look really nice, but just credit to Squad for making a game that really captures people's imagination. Nothing like going around a big alien world in a giant massive ship that almost breaks the game's physics to do that. So let's go ahead and loop on around, and we're just going to finish this episode kind of with a bow here. Just a little bit of real-time gameplay, but there's your maneuver node. We want to go up above the height of the atmosphere. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. This is Asher. I will see you all next time with even more Kerbal Space Program. I don't mind this video ran a little long. I know y'all have been waiting for some content for me, and I'm happy to bring it. And hopefully next time we'll either get some landings or some crashes. Either way, should be fun. Thanks for watching. See you next time.